guys, today we're going to talk about the regular polygon web, and what this is a really nifty way to organize all of the formulas relevant to the angles of polygons and how they relate to each other. So when you're looking for something, you can really use this pretty easily to try and determine what it is that you need to do to solve any type of problem. So let's go ahead and start by just filling out these blanks on the web. So for number of sides, we already talked about that formula. Really, we're just going to go through and write all these formulas. We know that for number of sides to sum of interior is 180 times n minus 2. All right. So if you know number of sides and you're trying to find the interior angle sum, this is the formula you follow, which is why it's by this arrow. All right. Now let's say we know what that is, but then we need to go to the individual interior angle. That's when we took our angle sum that we just calculated up there, and we just need to divide it by n, and that's going to give us the measure of each individual angle in there, whereas this was the sum of all of them, like what they all added up to. All right, and then we go to exterior angles. So there's a couple of things that are important to understand about exterior angles. First of all, it is the relationship that they have with interior angles. So I'm going to go ahead and just draw a random polygon here, and I will draw some exterior angles as well. So we get exterior angles just from extending some of the sides, and it's kind of like in one direction, you know. So you can kind of get the idea of what I mean by seeing me draw this. So what I've created here are 5 exterior angles. There's always as many exterior angles as there are sides. So like this is an exterior, this is an exterior, this is an exterior, this is, and so is this. Whereas these are interior angles. All right. So what's really important to understand is that there's a special relationship between the red and the green here, or between the interior and exterior. So hopefully you remember that when you see this T relationship, all right, that means that they are supplementary, right? Whenever we worked with angle relationships last semester and we saw something like this, we were like, okay, these two angles must add up to 180, okay? So that tells us that interior and exterior angles always have to add up to 180, okay? Interior plus exterior equals 180. They're supplementary. So that is where this formula-ish thing comes in. If I'm given an interior angle and I don't know what the exterior angles are, all I have to do is subtract that interior angle from 180, since I know they both have to add up to 180. All right, and same logic. If I'm given an exterior angle and I have to find the interior, I do the same thing. It's just now I'll just subtract that exterior from 180. All right, it all just depends on what information you have versus what information you're looking for. All right, this little box off in the corner is just there to tell us that the sum of exterior angles is always 360. From that one Desmos activity that we did in class, we learned that all of these green angles will always add up to 360, no matter how many sides are in there. Whether this shape has 5 sides or 500, the exterior angles will always add up to 360 degrees. All right, that brings us up to our last set of formulas here. And what we just talked about is very relevant to that. So the number of exterior angles is always going to be equal to the amount of sides. And we also have to remember that all exterior angles have to add up to 360. So if I give you a certain amount of sides, I've also given you the number of exterior angles. So if I know how many exterior angles there are, and I want to know what the measure is of each one, all I have to do is divide 360 by how many exterior angles there are. And to do that, I will divide by n, because n is the same as the number of exterior angles. All right, similarly, if I wanted to figure out how many sides I have based on my exterior angle measure, then it's a very similar formula. I just have to divide 360 by that exterior angle. That's because the number of sides times the exterior angle measure is going to equal that. So going to equal 360, I mean. All right. So now that we have all of our formulas filled out, we can go ahead and do get some practice using this to solve problems. Make sure you have this written down somewhere, or make sure you have this easy access to this. All right, so our first problem, calculate the total interior angle sum for a 13-sided polygon. So let's note down some things here. We have n, we know how many sides we have, and we need to find the interior angle sum. Right, this is what we don't have. So when you go back to your Polygon web, you find the box that contains the information you have, and you find the box that contains the information you're looking for. So in our case, we know the number of sides, and we're trying to find the interior angle sum. So because I know I'm going from this box to this box, I need to follow this path, which means I need to use this formula. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to the other page and use the 180 times n minus 2 formula. But n is 13 here, so that's what I'll plug in. So this then just becomes a calculator thing. 180 times 13, well, I'm just kidding. Goodness. 180 times 11, and if you calculate 180 times 11 in your calculator, you should get an answer of 1980. So that is the interior angle sum of a 13-sided polygon. All right, on to the next. What is the measure of each interior angle? That's what we're looking for. And we know that we have 11 sides. That's n. And n is 11 here. So let's go back to our web and act accordingly. So we know that n is 11. So we're here. And we need to get to this box right here. We know the sides, we need the measure of one interior angle, and so to get there we have to follow this roadmap. Oops, wow, that was bad. That was not much better, but so we have to get here, and then we have to go here. So basically, we'll find the interior angle sum by doing 180 times n minus 2, and then we'll divide it by n. So essentially, we're just using this formula. All right. So we need to use our formula of 180 times n minus 2 over n, right? So we will plug in our n, which is 11. And then you just need to calculate. Oh goodness, I am struggling. And then you just need to calculate what you get for this. So that ends up, if you simplify it a little bit, I would, before I would put it into my calculator, 180 times 9 over 11. So honestly, it's best if you just do this piece by piece so your calculator doesn't mess you up. So you end up doing 1620 divided by 11. Now that's pretty easy to type into your calculator, and you end up getting about 147.3 degrees. All right, onwards to the next. Let's see, each interior angle measures, or sorry, I totally don't know what I was just reading there. Each exterior angle of a polygon measures 12 degrees. So we know that our exterior is 12 degrees. How many sides does it have? We don't know n. So we go back to our web, and we're like, okay, we're trying to, well, we have the exterior angle measure, and we need to find the number of sides. So this is the path that I'm going to follow. That means I need to use this formula. Okay, 360 divided by the exterior angle. So I'll go back to my problem, and I'll say, okay, 360 divided by my, divided by my exterior angle. So for me, here, it's going to be 360 divided by 12. So that'll give me a final answer of 3 sides. All right. Next, what is the measure of each interior angle of a regular polygon with 12 sides? So this is another one of those problems where we have the sides, this is n, and we need to find each interior angle. All right, so we go back here and we're saying, okay, we have the sides, have the interior angle, so I need to use this formula. Okay, that's what's going to help me follow this path to get from my starting box to my destination box. So we'll go back to our problem and we'll say, okay, 180 times n minus 2 over n. So let's plug in my n. We have 180 times my n is 12. All right, and again, strongly recommend going step by step. It will very much decrease your chances of making a mistake. So here I end up with 1800 divided by 12. So if you put that in your calculator, you should get an answer of 150. So each interior angle here has a measure of 150 degrees. All right, one more question here. This one's slightly challenging compared to the other ones because the web doesn't necessarily tell us what to do, but we can use a little judgment here. So in this case, well, I should probably read the problem first. We have the sum of interior angles. Okay, this is the interior angle sum, and we don't know what n is. All right. Interior angle sum versus n. So let's go to our web and take a look. We happen to have this box and we're looking for this box, which is funny because usually it's the other way around. We usually have the sides and we're looking for the sum. So instead, we kind of have to work backwards, and there's no good formula for that. However, we do know a couple of things. We know that if we were trying to go from sides to interior angles, this is the formula we would use. So let's take some notes here. If I wanted to get the interior angle sum, interior, this means interior. Interior angle sum, that would be equal to 180 times n minus 2. That would be the formula to use. So in my situation, I have an interior angle sum and I don't have an n. So what if we just rewrote this equation, replaced the interior angle sum, and now I have an equation that I could actually solve for n. So my advice to you would be to start by distributing. You could divide both sides by 180 if you're pretty algebraically savvy, but a lot of people will probably just feel like distributing, and that's totally okay. Alright, so 2880 equals 180 times n is 180n. 180 times negative 2 is negative 360. So now this is just a regular Algebra 1 concept here. We got to move things away to the other side so I can get n by itself. So let's start by adding 360 to both sides. Since it's a minus, we got to do the opposite. 360 goes away. 2,880 plus 360 is going to be 3,240. Don't be afraid to bust out your calculators. Alright, so I have one last step here. I need to get this 180 away from the n. Oops. And to do that, because it's being multiplied, I'm going to divide both sides by 180. Alright, so that gives me a final answer of 3,280 divided by 180. Or sorry, 3,240 divided by 180. And that gives me 18. I have solved the mystery of how many sides the polygon has. Alright, that is it for today. Go ahead and give the map and math problems a try, and let us know if you need help.